If you ever had that feeling of like, oh my God, I have no idea how to study for this exam, then I think this video might help. This is a simple, systematic approach that pretty much works for any exam. This way you don't have to worry about when you start a new class or when you have a bunch of exams coming up in a given week. These 4 steps is really all you need to ace your exams. And I call this system the 4 R's. Anyone know how to make R with their fingers? But either way, and if you haven't yet, make sure to smash, click that subscribe button, please. The first R is research. Take some time to figure out the best way to learn for the class. Review the syllabus and see what the teacher recommends. Chances are the professor is using outdated ways to teach the class. Figure out what skills and knowledge you need to have to do well in the class and to do well on the exams. The internet will be your best friend during this research process because it can pretty much provide you guidance on almost any topic. To give you an example of how this might look like, take math for example. The best way to probably get good at math is to do practice problems on your own and then compare your responses to an answer key. It wouldn't make much sense to just read about math. Or maybe you're a pre-med student. I know a lot of my audience are pre-med students, and maybe you are in a course like anatomy or any other science class like cell bio, and instead of trying to memorize everything by brute force, it would make a lot more sense to make note cards or create helpful mnemonics to memorize this very complex information. And of course, this is a given, but figure out the structure of the exam. Is it multiple choice? Is it free answer? Is it essay? You know, I work with students who don't even understand the structure of their exam, and it's like, that is the first part. Know how you're gonna be tested, know how it's gonna be assessed. I think it's a big part of your research process. The second R is resources. After you've done all your research, you're probably gonna be hit with this thing called resource overload. This is where you really need to pick a few resources that you're primarily gonna use to study. There's gonna be many options out there, but you gotta choose yours and stick with it. And pick the resources that make sense to you. If you think of yourself as a visual learner, then prioritize diagrams, or drawing on whiteboards, or watching videos with animations. If you're more of an audio learner, then definitely listen to lecture, try to condense your material into an audio format, or try to find the stuff you need to learn in an audio format and listen to it. Some resources, of course, will be free, some will cost money. In my experience in school, you get what you paid for. In medical school, you kind of need to spend money on your resources because, weirdly enough, our expensive price tag of tuition does not include vital board materials. Oh, who would have thought that higher education always wants money? Okay, but besides the point, that's a different video. But back to the topic of you get what you paid for is if you find a resource that makes sense to you, that's gonna reduce your stress, reduce the amount of time that you need to study, then it's worth investing in. And I know most students are kind of broke in school, but you kind of have to figure out what's more important to you, doing really well in your classes and saving time. If that frees up time by you buying that resource, what are you gonna do with that extra time if that's important to you? So it really comes down to what you think is a good investment. Number 3 is ratings. Now, ratings mean the ratings from other classmates or professors. I couldn't think of a really good R word for this, but we're just gonna go with ratings. This is the part where you might seek additional guidance from others because you might need it. Get on good terms with upperclassmen who have taken the class. They can likely point you to really helpful materials, maybe their study guides, maybe their notes. This saves you a lot of time and hassle. I was definitely one of those students where I was just like, I don't need anyone's help, I'm gonna figure it out all on my own. But try to create a community where everyone's helping each other, okay? It's not a competition. You are all able to get good grades, are all able to graduate, are all able to get a job and get into graduate schools. Especially if you're studying and you feel like your approach is not working, you know, be honest with yourself and reach out and get other people's opinions on it. You can also talk to a TA or a professor. But of course, don't just ask these people what you need to do in order to get a good grade. If you're struggling with a certain part of the course or a lecture, you should go up to them and ask these types of questions. How might this be asked on the test? Or is this worth understanding on a deeper level? In my experience, professors don't really like it when you say stuff like, what do I need to know? Number 4 is real practice. As with anything in life, you need direct practice to get better at it. So don't be shy to get started with some actual practice. Don't put off practice questions because you might not feel confident or you don't want to figure out what you don't know. Don't just practice a presentation in your head. Don't just say you understand a concept when you haven't tried to explain it out loud or explain it to someone. Don't try to learn a technical skill by watching a video on how to do it. If you say you can do a backflip and the only thing you've done is watch a video and you've never actually physically tried, you don't know how to do a backflip. You know, I've also tried to teach myself how to do a backflip. Haven't got there quite yet, but I'll tell you one thing, it's not just videos that allow you to figure out how to do a backflip. You actually need to practice it. And I fell on my neck a couple of times. The more you practice, the more you might simulate an actual exam or assessment. And the less stressful you make it when it comes on exam day. Well, there it is, everyone. The 4 R's to help you crush your exams. Research, resources, ratings, real practice. Try it out in your future exams. Also, let me know if this video was helpful. And there's tons of more videos on my channel that's gonna pop up on the screen right now that that you should check out. And if you haven't heard, I have this amazing free study course that's linked in the description below. Be sure to check that all out. In the meantime, have a wonderful time, everyone.